Over the past 5 years, I've literally read every book when it comes to managing money, personal finance, investing, all to try and become the best I could possibly be when it comes to managing my own money. And these are the 20 little money habits and hacks that I've used to smash my financial goals and which allow me to quit my corporate job to pursue my full-time passion of being a content creator, live in my absolute dream house, and travel the world with my wife. Wanna pop out and say hi to the camera? So, let's dive straight into habit number 1. Calculate how much you spend. Let me start by asking you this. How much do you earn? Sorry, what was that? Okay, now, how much do you spend each month? I'm guessing the majority of you sitting there right now are probably scratching your head. And the reason I know that is because you are me a couple of years ago. I used to know exactly how much to the penny would come into my account each month, but I had zero clue what was going out of it. And when I took a look, I was shocked. Some months I was literally spending more money than I was bringing in. But just 1 month after calculating how much I was spending, I managed to reduce it by £250. I'm not exactly sure how that happened, but it's probably because I knew that future me was gonna start looking at current me's spending. And that made me think twice before buying some things. Number 2, open an investment account and start depositing a regular amount every month, even if it's just £1. Investing is one of the greatest tools for making your money work for you rather than just sit there doing nothing. And if you think you've got no idea about what to do when it comes to investing, don't worry. There are so many resources out there that can bring you up to speed so quickly. This here is one of my favorite. But I genuinely believe you're not gonna go and do that because you don't have any skin in the game. So I'm gonna ask you to do is 2 steps. Step 1, open an account with any of these brokers. Yes, any is better than none at all. And step 2, put away your first pound and start that investing habit. Number 3, set up an emergency fund. So what's this for? Imagine one morning you woke up, got fired, your car broke down, your boiler broke down, and your credit card bill was due. That is what an emergency fund is for. Typically, emergency funds contain 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. And if you followed habit number 1, you'd already know how much you're spending each month. Once you've built that fund, the confidence you have with your finances is going to be higher than it's ever been before. Sweet. 4, pay off all bad debt aggressively. Did you just say bad debt? Yep. I did, because you see, debt can be split into 2 categories. Good debt is where the interest rate is set really low, meaning you'd rather put your spare cash towards places with high returns. Bad debt is the opposite. Imagine your credit card interest rate was 25%. You ain't getting that kind of return anywhere else on the market, so pay it off aggressively. Automate your money. Every month on the 1st, I get a monthly paycheck. And that same day, my investments, savings, house deposit fund, emergency deposit fund, credit card repayments, bills, and rent all get taken out of my account without me doing anything. In other words, I pay myself and all of my expenses without lifting a single finger. And that way, I never miss a single payment and I save hours of my life. 6, learn one new thing about money every week. I would argue that this could be one of the most important things you do on your money journey. Just read 10 pages of a money book, listen to a money podcast, or watch one YouTube video on finance. Each of these will make you 1% better with your money every week. And guess what? You've already started by watching this video. Thanks for that, by the way. 7, cut one of your biggest expenses by 10%. So if you've been following along and completed step 1, you'll already know which categories are draining most of your money. But if you haven't, then for most humans on Earth, it's housing, transport, and food. By cutting your spending on these categories, you're gonna make the biggest dents on your expenses. So no, you don't have to give up your weekly Starbucks just yet. Start using price comparison websites. I genuinely believe that if you took a few moments with every purchase to double check you're getting the best price, you would save upwards of £500 a year. I just got a letter from Direct Line, who are my current providers, saying that my insurance was going up from £600 to £1,200 a year. It literally took me 5 minutes of inputting my details onto a price comparison site to find the exact same deal by another provider for £450. Don't think I need to say any more than that. The 30-day rule. This is single-handedly the best way you're gonna stop making impulse purchases. And it goes a bit like this. Rule number 1, add whatever you want, as expensive as it is, to your basket. Rule number 2, you have to wait 30 days before you actually check out that item. And rule number 3, if you still want it after that 30-day period, feel free, go make that purchase. What you're gonna tend to find out is that after 30 days, you're not gonna want to buy that thing anymore. And if I had 1p for every time I didn't make that purchase, I'd have at least a quid by now. By the way, if you found yourself getting any value from this video at all, it'd mean the world if you hit that subscribe button. Start building credit. Let's start with the why. If you've ever had any intention of borrowing money for a mortgage or a new car, then your credit score could determine whether or not you get accepted for that loan. And next, the how. Well, there's actually quite a few ways. You could put yourself on the electoral roll, open a bank account, pay your bills on time, and my personal favorite, get a credit card, never pay more than 30% of your credit limit, and pay it off in full every month. Which leads us nicely onto number 11. 11, get a reward debit or credit card. You see, these cards reward you for just spending your money. Whether it's cashback, discounts, Avios, it really doesn't matter because any of those are better than getting nothing. For example, I've traveled to Morocco for free just by using some of these cards. But you do have to remember the golden rule.
But of course, you need to pay the card off in full.
Cheers, Martin. Check all of your subscriptions and bills. Now, step 1 is to check all your outgoings. Look at this as a bit of a sub-step of that, because up to 50% of the UK spend almost £170 a year on unused subscriptions. And I was one of those people. You see, my wife and I noticed we both had separate Prime accounts and Netflix accounts. So obviously cancelling one of those saved us a ton of money. Stop buying things you can't afford. And if you think that's a strange lesson for me to include, then you might want to think again, because over 50% of 18 to 24-year-olds in the UK have either accidentally or on purpose missed a credit card payment in the past 2 years. Translation, a lot of people are spending amounts that they can't afford to pay off. Here's how I got around that problem. Firstly, back to the credit card rules. If I can't pay for it twice on my debit, I don't pay for it once on my credit. Second, budgeting. I try and abide by the 50-30-20 rule, where 50% of my income gets allocated towards my needs, such as housing, transport, and food. 30% goes towards my needs, like gym, eating out, and holidays. And 20% goes towards my savings. But the higher you can make that last percentage, the better. 14, talk about money. No, you talk about money. Talking about money, especially here in the UK, has always been a taboo subject. I mean, we don't even talk about it in schools, which is kind of the reason I started this channel. Unfortunately, because of this culture, the average person that runs into money problems will only reach out for help about a year after they've started having the problems, making it so much worse than it could have been. And those people aren't alone. 29 million adults in the UK feel uncomfortable talking about money despite feeling worried about money. I mean, it makes no sense. So you watching this, be that person to start openly talking about money. Rule 15, calculate your hourly rate. This rule's actually paired with the next one, rule 16, and it's quite simple. For this part, you just need to calculate how much do you value 1 hour of your time at. The number really doesn't matter, whether it's 5, 10, or even £100. But once you've figured that out, the next step is crucial. Rule 16, offload tasks below your hourly rate. For example, let's say you value your time at £20 an hour and someone will come and clean your house for £10 an hour. All of a sudden that transaction makes sense, because with that free time, you can now earn more money or just spend your time doing what you want to do. 17, stop falling for sales tactics. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we all know that companies and their marketing teams try and entice customers to spend more money. Think about how much you bought last Amazon Prime Day that you didn't even realize you wanted. There's just something about a big red sales sign that makes our brain turn to mush. And once again, the great Martin Lewis summarizes how to treat sales perfectly. If you're gonna buy it anyway and it's half price, great, you've saved 50%. If you weren't gonna buy it, but do because it's half price, you've wasted 100%. Cheers, Martin. 18, buy quality. Now, I learned this one the hard way when I realized that all of the cheap t-shirts that I kept on buying from ASOS kept on shrinking in the wash or losing color after a couple of weeks. If instead I'd opted to pay a bit more for a premium t-shirt, then they would have lasted me longer and I would have actually ended up saving money in the long run. A saying that puts this quite nicely is cry for something once, but not twice. In other words, yes, it might hurt to fork out a bit more money in the short run, like I did for this coffee machine, but at least you're only gonna cry for it once, not 100 times when it keeps on breaking down. 19, everything's negotiable. Take for example my phone bill. Last month my £20 a month phone bill was coming to the end of its 2-year contract, and when I called up, they actually told me I would have to start paying more. So I went online and found a pretty similar package with a competitor that was £12 a month. When I told Vodafone that I was going to be leaving them for this competitor, all of a sudden they found a magical deal for £14 a month. It's amazing what you can do with just one phone call. And lastly, stop comparing yourself to others. If I could ask you to take just one lesson from this entire video, it would be this one. The comparison culture created by social media has caused some of the worst personal finance decisions in young adults these days. I think everyone watching this video will know one person who got their first ever job and the first thing they went and did was leased a car they couldn't afford to impress people that they probably didn't even like. One of the biggest hacks to get ahead financially is to live below your means and avoid lifestyle creep. That's the idea that just because you're earning more money doesn't mean that you need to go out and buy a nicer car or get a bigger house. Instead, if you put that money towards your long-term goals, you'll actually be able to afford that car of your dreams in due time. Think about it. And if you like this video, don't forget to leave in the comments your best money hacks and habits, and I'll catch you in the next video.